So in the Canadian interview, when he took the Blue Jays hat and he put it on, at that point, I'm not going to play the interview because I'll probably get done for a copyright strike. I've got lots of mischief makers behind the scenes on me at the moment. But if I had been the one interviewing him when he did that, I would have snatched that hat straight off his head and I would have said, you've forfeited the right to wear that cap. And this is the consequence. This is the consequence of the choice you made. And you could make light of it, but it still should have been done, because that is a recurring theme with Harry in his life, that he never gets consequences for any of his actions. It's always covered up for him from a very early age. Banter and bravery, this essay. Now, I could have a go at him from the fact that it clearly was written for him, but all royals have their speeches written for him, so that would be a pretty silly point if I was to make that point. However, they do have final approval of what was said, and I think, it was really emphasised that we were supposed to feel sorry for Harry because he missed the banter of the army mess. Now, that's emotional manipulation. That's using veterans and the service for emotional manipulation, which is tacky tactic. So we know, I think the banter statement was really relevant to this pattern that I'm highlighting today, because he's always used his happy chappy cheeky sort of banter to evade responsibility. And the palace, when he was younger, they would arrange a photo op and they would arrange a fun one-on-one where he could do some cheeky chappy banter and all would be right with the world. And look, honestly, don't you think that as a parent, your hardest point in life is when your son, I'll say son because that's all I have, but I presume it's the same for daughters, but when you look in your son's eyes and you know they've stuffed up big time, and you say to them, it's the first point in their early adulthood, when you say to them, you caused it, you have to fix it. It's on you now. And if there's consequences, I'm sorry, because I'm sure it's going to be painful, but the thing is, learn from them. And you step back and you leave them to it. And that's a rite of passage for every parent. I bet everyone watching this now in the chat knows that there is a point when you step back. Obviously, if your child is inequipped to handle a situation, you help. But when you know deep down that they could have done it better and they chose not to, well, that's when you don't help. And, it's not a cruel thing. It's never happened in his life. And that's why this has dragged on for years and years and years. So we've had 5 years of undermining, sniping, implicit threats that he held material so devastating on his father and brother that if he was ever to publish it, they would never forgive him. All these implicit threats. Meghan's made implicit threats. And they've made accusations, let's face it, they've made accusations of racism. So let's go back and have a little bit of a further look at this unedifying display. So this is the banter of the mess, the clubhouse, the stands, ridiculous as it sounds. It does sound ridiculous because you implied that your wife and you suffered unbearable racism in the UK. So, it's a bit much. It's a bit much to believe. And we don't believe you love it, Harry. We believe you love it now because it's convenient. Because all your other efforts have failed. All your other business ventures have failed. Does anyone really believe that if Harry and Meghan had have succeeded to the level that they thought they were going to succeed when they did the Oprah Winfrey interview rather cockily, when they released the docudrama, when they released Spare, if they had have reached and stayed and maintained the dizzying heights of Spotify and Netflix deals and people fawning all over them, and when they first went to the USA, the Hollywood sort of set did fawn a bit. There was quite a bit of fawning going on. If they hadn't been able to maintain that, do you really think that he'd be making statements about how much he loves the UK? I don't think so. Don't think so. Now, he's constantly reminding us that he served in Afghanistan and he called on people. Now, this is really self-serving and quite sickening. Whenever he says who might need help once the uniform comes off, he's talking about himself. He is not talking about veterans that have been injured in the theatre of war and need post-war support. He's talking about himself. This was what he emphasised straight after Queen Elizabeth II first stripped him of everything. This began to appear in every speech he made. And it's a self-serving acknowledgement of the fact that his uniform has been stripped from him. And we've got to think about this. You know, when the king stripped Andrew of all his titles and all his military things and, you know, the whole bit, and now Prince and Duke and the whole bit's gone, he said that this censure was necessary despite Andrew denying the Virginia Giuffre allegations. That's because it wasn't the Virginia Giuffre allegations that caused this. It was a part of it, but because they're unproven, it wasn't the reason. This censure was because he brought disrepute on the monarchy. And it's the sovereign's job to protect the monarchy against these attacks that could undermine the institution. It is his primary role to ensure that the monarchy endures and is in a fit state to be passed down to a future heir. William is already mindful of that with George. He's already ensuring it's fit for purpose. He's going to hit the ground running, ensuring that what he hands down to George is something that he can be proud of. He said so in the Eugene Levy interview. He said it. He stated it. He's not trying to keep anything from us. He's telling us exactly what his agenda is. There's no mystery. So that is King Charles III's role. He has to protect the institution of the monarchy. And he didn't do it properly against Andrew. If anything, he undermined what the late Queen had already set up. And now he's not doing it again with Prince Harry. Now, I'm not focusing on Meghan because once you strip the Duke of Sussex title from Harry and the Prince title from Harry and remove his HRH, Meghan's is gone anyway. Same as Fergie's. It's gone. She's a nothing. She's an ordinary citizen. She can do what she like. She can appear in as many lame movies as she wants, or Hallmark movie appearances, or bit parts or cameos, whatever she likes. And I'm sure they'll all dry up once all that's gone. So I'm focusing on Harry because that's the main point.